Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of the Powered Podcast. I'm Val from Method and House of Priest. With me today I have Dry again.
Hey, my name's Dry from WWE. I'm also How to Priest moderator for the Shadow Forums.
And then we have Twin Top.
I'm Twin Top from How to Priest and Slash Hug on US Manroth, as well as my blog Shadow Orbs and Mind Spikes.
And then we have Woden.
Hey, Woden from Electric Sheep of Cargath US, and I'm kind of a big deal.
And then we have our healing section for tonight. We have the Rebka again.
Afternoon / good evening. What time is it in the East Coast? Oh, West Coast is still 3 o'clock. It's afternoon. So I'm Drevka from Something Wicked on Whisperwind and several places on the internet, including places that charge you a monthly fee.
And then lastly, but not least, our new addition this week, Ashley Cakes.
Hi, I'm Ashley Cakes from Angelus Lapsus on US Storm Reaver.
Okay, so let's go over our weekly happenings. I know for a fact that some of us have had some interesting occurrences. Some have killed new bosses. Dry.
Yep. We got US 6 currently ranked, WWA on Mike Theoden. Killed Raw Den in, I believe it was 16 attempts. So that's not bad. It was a good, strong kill. It's not a fun boss, but yeah. At least
No.
Lei Shen was.
Yeah, it's quite disappointing coming from the Shen and then going to Radan.
Yeah, this week was insane. We almost one-shotted. VE did so much healing now. It's really stupid.
So you're saying you were carried by VE.
Almost.
Is that before or after the
We got the kill
meteor?
last week. Sunday night.
Okay.
But that was
That's
before
weird.
VE was pretty much a healer by itself.
Like the strongest red cooldown ever to be seen in the game for like a few hours.
Yeah. Plus Toph with Divine Star.
Yeah, I'm kind
Everything.
of sad I didn't get to play with it in the stupid overpowered version. It was sadly fixed when I got to raid on the EU.
Yeah,
was not-
same.
Like having 90 million healing done on Tordos from it.
Not too bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
but
not-
Torto's healing is fake healing.
All healing in Tortoise is good healing. So.
Well, and then I guess in Electric Sheep 2, we snagged Heroic Megara and Heroic Iron Quan this week, which is first week that we got 2 Heroics in the same week. So that's kind of awesome.
Huzzah.
Got
That's
up to US 126 25 man, which is one of our better rankings.
Lots of first kills this week. I know we, at Something Wicked, actually last week after the show, we got our first Animus heroic kill and then repeated it on Wednesday last week, and then I've been having fun in Lei Shen's playground. Really don't know how uncomfortable I feel about this.
How far have you gotten into the fight so far?
We're getting after the first intermission, and things kind of go to hell in a handbasket at that point.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have our warlocks with us.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
traveling for the weekend, so no portals for you.
Yeah, that's
Welcome
an
to games
interesting
thrown off
fight.
the edge.
That's an interesting fight doing without a few warlocks.
Yeah.
For Slash Hug, we got Heroic Darumu and Twins to get up to 10 out of 13. I wasn't in on the Darumu kill because of all this packing for the move, but they got it in about a night and a half worth of attempts. I think it was sub 20, I want to say. So, proud of all my guys. Starting on
Lightning
Animus
Rescue?
this week. Pretty much. I think we had somebody come in on a Shaman alt to help out.
Oh yeah, I think we had like 2 elemental shaman alts on our first kill.
Fun fact about Darumu. So one of our raiders is the primary encounter coder for DBM, and they put in the code on as default to change the spell detail too low, so you actually can see the hole automatically, and then it turns it
I
back off when you
noticed
leave the
that.
fight. You didn't have
I
to
was
do
like,
it; did it for you.
penance is so ugly now. What happened? Oh, it's DVM. Yay!
Oh, yeah, I can't even come up with anything at this moment. Maybe next week when we do Lei Shen, our second group. Hopefully, it might be a good thing. But what interesting I have is that I got my second priest, an Alliance 290. So I've been doing disco stuff in instances, even though the queues are horrible and the Savior's battle group in the EU.
On Alliance, you said?
Yeah, Alliance. Yeah.
There's more of us? What is this madness?
Yeah. And at some point, it just becomes too expensive moving all your characters to Horde when you started playing Alliance.
You know, I've had to switch between Horde and Alliance and drag my ults with me so many times. I hope Blizzard institutes like a, buy 3 transfers, get 1 free, or buy 10, get 1 free.
Yeah, but I guess you don't have to transfer 11 characters, both server and faction.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've done 3 server and faction a few times, but expensive.
Nah, no. I decided not to go for all 11.
Just do what I do. Get a habit of doing race changes.
We have a few people in Method who does that.
week.
It's a problem. I have officially added a 0 to the number.
Oh.
That's disgusting.
So, how are people...
You should buy me a race change. I'm sick of being...
You need to go to race change rehab.
I know.
Terrible.
They just need to nerf Shory Sholmes, so sick I'm tired of being trolled.
I hate Rituals.
No.
I get them for
Those
like...
are awesome.
Oh. No.
I just want
They
to look
do.
cool casting.
They need to nerf the crap out of trolls because they're the ugliest thing ever on Horde. And oh yeah, I know, blasphemy,
Oh my
right?
god.
All I need to do is make
Those tusks.
Undead Rachel scale with Haste. He's so good.
Yeah, if that scale with haste, that would be amazing.
He's so strong. And then can be undead always. Be awesome.
All the time, yeah. So, how are you guys looking on secrets and runestones?
I've
One
got, like,
more.
eight-
One more!
I'm at 4, and I'm very unhappy about it.
I'm at 4 too. For weeks.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, I'm at 10. I'm at 8. I'm at 9. I'm
Yeah, I
like
had-
have it."
I didn't get anything for like 3 weeks in a row, then I got 4 last week, and then I got
I
the
think
12.
only
so-
one person in my guild completed it, and it's our Shadow Priest.
There's like, there's not a ton. There's only like a few dozen that actually are out there at the moment.
We have quite a few in Method. I think we have like 5 or 6.
I think we have 2. It's me and our Astro Druid, I believe. It's so good though. It's almost 1,000 stats of everything. When you
Yeah,
upgrade.
upgrade is like 993, I think. Like when you upgrade it to
991.
2.
Spend any one of each stat.
At least it's close to 1,000 when you upgrade it fully. Okay, I guess we should get moving on to our experiences in the past week with the new patch. So let's start first with healing today. How has it been looking, like with the Divine Hymn buff and the Atonement nerf?
Can we go in the opposite order? Can we do Atonement first, then him? Not that we're
We
going to
can-
put Disc ahead of Holy, as always, but still.
We can do that, whatever you prefer.
I never play Holy, 10-man.
Well, actually, there's no real reason in a 10-man to truly play Holy.
Yeah, I
But-
find it hard to justify, but that's a whole different topic.
I mean, there's no doubt that my total healing done changed with the nerfs to Atonement, but I am not doing any less time casting, no, not casting Smite, Holy Fire, or Penance offensively. I'm doing
totally
just as
agree with
much,
that.
just that the output is different. And
Mhm.
then it gets to the point where is it truly meaningful healing? Like, you always have that kind of just like little pittance healing. Okay, yeah, that's great, but would it have already been healed up by the existing rejuve that was ticking on the tank versus my smite just sniping it. I mean, at this point, it's like, who cares? You know, it kind of levelized the playing field a little bit. I didn't change really my healing style that much. I think I may have cast healing penance a few times more than usual,
Yep.
just because the output changed, but not
hmm
markedly so. I don't know.
No, it's the
Ashley,
same
Same or
experience for
yeah.
me, to be honest. I mean, I might have cast a few more prayer of healings than I might have before, just because I felt like it might have been worth it a bit more, or defensive penance on my tank, but that's really it. I haven't changed the amount of atonement healing that I do, and I just don't feel like the nerf was enough to change our playstyle at all.
I mean, it clearly is designed as our filler. It's designed as our filler. You're not going to sit there and do cancel cast
Yeah,
greater heals or flash heals that you would do more in line as holy, and then it's just kind of your filler. And then the damage
yeah.
done, is a little bit weaker because I'm not running my smite glyph anymore, so it's a little bit of a hit. But meh, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's a nerf to our output, but I think it translated more to a buff to the healing meters for the other classes, which
Yep.
at the end of the day is a zero-sum game, so who cares?
what are you
hmm
running instead of the smite buff?
So I have the smite glyph.
Yeah.
I've actually been running a lot of fade, but that was mostly
Yes.
because we were doing
Yes.
animus and just fading before jolt.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have
So
health stones this past week, so I put in Glyph of Fate, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, because I don't have a health stone.
although the tricky thing with the glyph of fade though is the only other time where I truly used the glyph of fade was on, oh my god, I'm blanking on it. Who's the big bug with crush?
Caroline.
Garalon.
Thank you. Like Garelon, like when it was progression, I ran Inner Sanctum with not Inner Sanctum. I ran Fade with it just to fade before the crush, and then I ran Inner Sanctum and Fade on Empress,
Yeah.
just so I had 16% mitigation. But it's like 16% for 2 major glyph slots, whereas everyone else
Yeah.
goes, okay, I have a personal cooldown. Like I have whatever the shaman version where they fade into the other realm. They get like major
Astral Shift.
cooldowns. Thank
Yeah,
you.
but that's a talent they waste on that.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's wasted.
Well,
They
no.
waste on it?
Like, considering it's their only defensive cooldown, I would say it's pretty bad. Like, they
What
have
are the
pretty bad
options?
survivability compared
Like,
to
what
other
would they
classes
take
anyway.
instead of it?
I think some absorb totem.
Yeah, I think
And the
See, I
Nature's
think you
Guardian
guys
that
need to
procs
learn
30%
dispersion.
health.
Learn
Yeah.
dispersion.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Whatever. You guys have your own personals. Like when it's a massive raid damage, and then the raid leader goes, "Okay, everyone, blow your personals," and I'm like, "I have desperate prayer, and I'm already have weakened soul on myself, so I'm kind of fucked."
Yeah, unless you blow pain suppression on yourself.
That's embarrassing when
I
you do
used
that.
Pain Suppress on myself on Ironcon this week on Hero, because we didn't have a Warlock for a portal. And I was like, well, I don't need it on the tanks until the last phase anyways.
Oh, so yeah,
It was pretty nice. I took no damage.
rocket boosts.
I'm tailoring and chanting.
We've
I
actually had some
dropped
people
tailoring.
who succeeded in using the Goblin Glider. Like when you're getting dragged in, you can use the Goblin Glider at a time, and then you just glide to the safe spot.
Oh, when you get pulled up in the
I
air,
thought
you
they
can use the
changed
glider.
that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah.
I thought they changed that, and you can't like blink or disengage it either anymore.
Well, I think I saw someone do it this week, but I haven't managed to do it myself. So
Goblin
They're
Glider's
not-
so strong. It's pretty much
Yeah.
just a goblin rocket jump. If you actually jump and use it, a lot of people don't actually know that it's OP.
it's kind of the same as disengage.
Mm.
To answer the him stuff, him is great. I did not realize truly how underpowered it was in 10 versus 25, but on 25 it was great. It's just literally you have a I win button now, whereas as far as from like raid stabilization and that perspective, it's I think the discussion about it kind of got overshadowed by all the tree druids going, "Oh my God, my tranquility is awesome," and it's mostly because they've sucked all tier like hard. So it kind of got overshadowed by their conversation about it. Like half of my raid team didn't even realize that Divine Hymn got buffed until I decided to go wholly on Ji-Kun. And then like, oh my God, like someone DC'd mid-fight, and then we got a really bad section with the hatchlings coming out, and we had quills, and I was like, oh no problem, I have my Divine Hymn, and everyone's like, oh wait a minute, I didn't realize that this did that kind of output. And it's like, eh. Well, you gotta give the trees their day in the sun, I suppose. But
Yeah.
him is kind of great now.
So I guess we're still at the same spot regarding Holy versus Disc as we were in 5.2.
It's two. Yes, I will give you that. I think Disc is still going to be better, but the gap, particularly on 25, has closed a little bit just because you actually have a real raid cooldown that actually means something. So
Okay.
I still wouldn't
And
play it.
10 man, yeah. I mean, I guess I could with my comp since I run with a Holy Paladin, but I always feel like I'm just gimping my raid by not doing damage to the boss instead of just healing. I've only found Holy to be like awesome on Heroic Blade Lord 2 healing with a Holy Paladin so far.
Yeah, being half a DPS is still half a DPS and a full healer is kind of great.
Yeah, and when we 3 heal, our Shadow Priest goes Holy, and she plays Holy DPS really well and swaps over to heals when it's needed. So even then, we still have like a whole
That's still a
DPS on the
thing?
boss.
Holy DPS, is that still a thing? Like, I remember it was viable back in...
We have her do it just during low damage phases because there really
Yeah.
isn't anything else she would be doing, considering the Holy Paladin and I just cover everything with absorbs.
Yeah.
So it works pretty well for us.
Single
I
target
probably
is
wouldn't
solid.
recommend it as a damage spec.
Right. Single target is solid, but you always have to remember you have an entirely wasted stat when you're damaging because your mastery does absolutely nothing.
Well, she uses her
damage.
shadow gear, so bonus.
Right,
All
but you
haste
still
and
have
crit.
some mastery. So she'll have
Oh,
baseline
yeah, yeah,
20%,
for sure.
which does nothing unless you're having a Cove Light. But again, it fills that whole situation.
Okay. I guess we can move on to Shadow then. Because we have quite some interesting stuff in that regard. So, we already touched a bit on the Vampire Embrace change. So,
It's so strong.
yes. Even after the fix. So,
Yeah, I didn't get to use the broken version, unfortunately, but yeah, on Sunday during Heroic Iron Quan, doing the last phase during the fist smash, it was a noticeable raid cooldown. We run 3 Shadow Priests a lot of times, and usually we'll pop like 2 of them at the same time, and it'll kind of take the edge off, but not do a whole lot. But now you can just have one standalone VE as part of a raid cooldown rotation, and it does something. It's nice.
yeah, I could easily see it as well when we did Radan. It was so noticeable, like having that VE just in the last phase, just healing everything. So. But yeah, the nerfed version is doing what? Like, if you have consistent AoE damage, you do what? Like 7 million in one use?
I actually think it's kind of better unglyphed on Raden, just because there's so much like
Yeah,
healing.
unglyphed.
It's-
I never used to glyph on Radan.
Yeah.
But I saw some people writing they had, like, what, 18 million in one use before they fixed it?
Mhm.
That's kind of stupid. So, 2-piece and 4-piece. There's been a lot of discussion for Shadow, especially when we reach close to best in slot gear. If we should use the 4-piece, stick to the 2-piece, and then go for off-pieces with a lot of haste. So, what I've been looking to do, at least, is going with the 2-piece. Because with the trinket, we're gonna get so many shadow aberrations queued up anyways that I don't really see a point in getting the extra from VT. What are your thoughts, guys?
I completely agree. I think it has a lot to do. Like I was running on Leishan, so I stand max distance from him, and it takes roughly 10 to 12 seconds for shadow apparitions to get there. And depending on like what version of you have of unerring, you could already have like 30 shadow apparitions just queued, and so they just spawn in clumps of 4. Like it's pretty pointless to have 4-piece. I think once you get close to that, like best in slot, or even have an unerring. On the best in slot thing on how to priest, I have basically 2 setups. One is like pretty much pre-Lei Shen, and the other one is more raw den specific. Because the raw den chest and legs are like insanely good for us. Both of them have 3 sockets. None of them are blue sockets like our chest tier has. And they're both haste mastery, while our tier has spirit mastery and our chest is just pretty much just garbage. And then like no haste on the legs and just a ton of crit, which is also pretty much garbage. So yeah, I plan on going for a 2-piece chest or shoulders and helm, and then Drumu gloves with rod and legs chest. I think it's gonna be the strongest option for us.
Yeah, that's what I've been looking at as well. So, like keeping at Reden, we got some confirmation this week, or was it last week, that you can't actually use both of the rings. So we will have to use another ring, sadly. I've been looking at it,
which
and
sucks.
yeah, but so far I've been thinking that going with the Ironclad ring is the best option for us.
I agree. Because the Daruma one is spirit crit, and we really don't need hit. I mean,
No, it's so hard to get out of anymore. I had to regem 3 things, change the embroidery on my pants, and like do all kinds of juggling to get right at hit cap. It was a painful 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think I'm like 0.60 over at the moment. Like I can't drop any more hits.
Ugh. Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably go with the heroic tier pants and the heroic tier shoulders, just because they're on more accessible heroics earlier on from Jinkun and Iron Quan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we talking in absolute best in slot. If you're able to clear 13 out of 13 for multiple weeks to have a good or decent shot at getting those particular pieces, I absolutely agree. 2-piece is as far as you want to go. From a practical perspective, for a lot of people, as they're gearing up and progressing, though, the 4-piece is not wasted until you get to very high haste levels, or you're doing a lot of multi-dotting where there's a chance of a lot of extra shadowy apparitions to spawn from crits.
Yeah, unerring definitely needs to be taken accountable too.
Yes.
Because if you like start with unerring proc at the start, and then you have like PI loss, LMG, like Zerking, that's like what, 21 ticks of shower pain and crit?
It's too many takes.
Yeah, that's a lot. It just increases your Q total by an insane amount.
Yeah, and then if that happens, like when moving Lei Shen from like one platform to another, and you stand where he's moved, your dodge just blow up in time. Because the operations just hit him like one after another, like instantly. Anyways, with these gearing changes, we'll also see a lot of stat changes. And especially with the upgrades coming in here this week, we are gonna reach some crazy haste numbers. I think I'm currently sitting at like 18.3k, I think it is. So I'm above the GCD cap.
Yeah, I really think we're gonna start going to 18.2k and then start going mastery.
Yes.
I feel like that's gonna, because that's the VT 6. Is that the 6th tick or 7? It's one of them, but yeah,
I
I
hate
definitely
your
think
haste
that's the way we're
level.
gonna go.
Pretty jelly. I'm sitting
Uh,
at 15.7k right now. It's not terribly far
Yeah,
off of
I'm
it.
still sitting with my normal Hydra, so that's another one, 300 when I get the heroic.
Yeah, I got the Thunder Forged Hydra and I upgraded that. I mean, that's a help.
Yeah. But yeah, getting to around the GCD cap with haste and then stacking mastery really seems like the way to go, to not just waste haste.
especially depending on what fights PI. I mean, the more and more gear we get, like the short and shorter bosses are gonna get, which is gonna make DI or not DI, but PI stronger and stronger. Just like the initial burst, especially Jikun, or not Jikun, but Jinrock. Like Jinrock's gonna become like a probably 1.3 minute fight eventually. Like when everyone's like 550 item level, you're probably gonna burst them down within the first pool, and PI is gonna be king.
Yeah, of course, depending on all of the RPPM tournaments, if they decide to prog in the pool or not.
Yeah.
Like, we had this picture on the Method forums, I think, the past week. One of our rogues were complaining about the RPPM tournaments because they have pretty much the same gear, two of our rogues, but because of the trinket difference, one did like 100k more, like literally 100k more just because of trinket uptimes on G-Rock.
Yeah, which is amazing because I have an upgraded Thunder Forged Unerring Vision and
Oh, I
I
don't
got
like you at the
9
moment.
procs to my other Shadow Priest's 12 procs on one encounter. Yeah, I was not happy about that.
You know, the best thing is when you go like the first 60% of a fight without a single proc. That is so great. When you have the heroic version.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah, it's not funny. Okay. I guess it's time to switch back to healing a bit, talking some glyphs and such.
He says begrudgingly.
What's wrong with healing? God. So, um, since they changed how the glyph of smite works, I've had a little bit of an option of playing around with the glyph for once, and I'm sure Derevka has too. I don't know what he's chosen, but for the most part, I've been playing around with Fade, and I also played around with the Glyph of Weakened Soul for a bit to see if I can time Rapture procs a bit better, because I can be quite awful at that. But I think I like Fade better on certain encounters for sure, like the Quills on Jikun and Ironclaw's Fist Smash in the last phase, for example. I don't know what you've tried out, Derevka, but perhaps you can give us some insight.
Yeah, I've been doing similar. I've been running Fade a lot. Just a lot of the big damage that you really need to worry about is predictable and on a cooldown, so you can time your Fade to actually be meaningful. While, yeah, Inner's Sanctum is going to give you that passive spell power or spell damage mitigation. Yeah, 6% is great, but why not get the extra 4 when it's actually a meaningful mitigation? So that's kind of what I've been using a little bit more. The Glyph of Smite, I immediately dismissed as the fact that it's not increasing my healing output, but on fights where enrage timers are important and the healing done may not be as important for certain phases, it may be something that we might want to consider using for certain parts. I know, like Animus, for example, that's a real tight enrage timer, particularly your first time killing it. That's going to be one, and maybe Smite, maybe something that you might want to pull back into your rotation for that. Weakened Soul, I have a hard time with it. Mostly because, at least in 25 man, I usually have another body I can throw a bubble on. That's not going to be a problem. But there are 2 Disc Priests in my raid, so sometimes we will trip over each other, particularly if we're fighting over the main tanks. Then we can get into a little bit of trouble, but I tend to not. I usually have been running Penance because I love Penance on the move. Holy Fire on fights where spreading out is super important, just for the little bit extra of the space. But I've been running a lot of Smite and Fade still. So
I find Weakened Soul to be decent on 10-man Horadon just because for the most part, only the tanks are taking damage if you're doing it correctly. So sometimes it's just a little bit more leeway in getting that next Rapture proc if the timing was just a bit off because your Paladin tank is freaking OP and the bubble doesn't pop on him. But other than that, no, I would not recommend it for most encounters.
Right. Now, I guess kind of parlaying a little bit into from Rapture into kind of stats and Spirit. I mean, for the most part, our stats haven't changed from the last patch to this one. You're pretty much going to still stay at least as Disc with crit, mastery, haste, and as holy, mastery is going to be one of your stronger ones. But Spirit is going to be one of those things, particularly with upgrades, that you're going to be hitting some kind of absurd numbers, and quite frankly, numbers that you don't need to be hitting, especially if you have a Resto Shaman in your group. I mean, there's some people out there saying, oh yeah, getting 15, 16, 17,000 Spirit is where you want to go, which I think is laughable, particularly if you have the Legendary Metagem. The MP5 that Legendary Metagem puts back is obscene. It's actually a good dialogue on the How to Priest forums in the healing session about the type of MP5 that actually is providing, even if you just use Smite in that period. The only thing you don't want to cast during the Lucidity proc is Power Word Solace, because that's free anyway. That's just wasted GCD in that period. But I've been dropping to about 10k Spirit and have had absolutely no problems at all whatsoever. Ash, have you seen similar with what you've been doing, or?
Yeah, I changed all my gems to int crit and haven't noticed any sort of mana issue, and I don't have a shaman. I may occasionally have an innervate, but no problems. I'm loving the legendary metagem.
Right. No. I mean, I guess the question everyone should be asking themselves, particularly if you're thinking about dropping Spirit, is: am I potioning every encounter? Am I using Hymn of Hope on cooldown? If you are potioning and you're using Hymn of Hope and you're running out of mana and you're running 15,000 Spirit, maybe it's time to evaluate what you're doing. High Spirit levels are usually only leveraged in strats where you're doing a obscene amount of bubble spam. And then at that point, you need to decide, is that bubble spam actually being used? If you're casting a Power Word Shield on a rogue and that rogue takes no damage, that's just wasted mana for no good reason. So that's really, I guess, my opinion on what's going on with the stats this part. Anything else I've missed, you thought, or no?
I don't think so. That sounds about right for what I've been doing, what I've been reading elsewhere. I have been seeing some people say that Power Word Shield spam during it is the legendary meta proc is good, but I've practiced it, and like you've noticed, sometimes no one takes the damage, and it's like, why did I even bother using that GCD on that?
Right. I don't know. So I guess we can let the Shadow Priest talk about shadowy stuff. Here's a bunch of Spirit for hit.
Well, actually, I've got a question for you. Did you see any change in gearing or glyphs for Holy with 5.3?
Glyphs? Holy had glyph changes?
The
I'm
binding
asking.
heal got fixed a bit, the AI on it, I thought.
Oh, did they fix the AI? I didn't even
I
bother
thought I
testing
read
it.
something about that. I'm a bit out of touch with Holy, so I'm not the best
no.
person to ask.
I'm not a fan of Binding Heal unless it's a fight that... Like, Binding Heal's great because of the whole, I can heal 3 things. But if I'm not taking damage, I really don't care. Like, there's no need for me to necessarily spend that much mana, possibly inefficiently, unless all 3 of us need immediate healing on the mana efficiency and speed that a Binding Heal costs. There's really no need to use it in my mind. I don't know. And if it's a situation where I'm getting that type of damage that fast, I have Desperate Prayer to use. Now, Holy from a stat change, I mean, there are people in the chat room asking about crit versus int gem discussion. Generally speaking, you're going to be better off with hybrid versus pure int. If you're running reds as pure int, I would strongly suggest dropping them and going orange, particularly for disc, just for the fact that it is going to scale your Spirit Shell more.
What about for yellows?
Yellows, orange. I think orange in literally every socket unless I get a socket bonus and then I use green. Yeah, orange in everything with the exception of 2 sockets because I get 120 int on the bonus, so why would I break it?
Yes. I was thinking, I've seen some people discuss if you should use Solace instead of Holy Fire now as disc when Solace actually heals 100% and Holy Fire does 90%.
Well, I've always been using Solace. That was my de facto as is. So long as you're using it on its cooldown, it's going to work out better from a total healing done. And it's interesting because it's not atonement. A lot of people got confused with, oh my god, Solace wasn't fixed. Solace is doing 100, not 90. Well, it's technically not atonement healing. It's just the mechanic of the spell because Holy has access to it. But again, a 10% differential is really all not that meaningful on one spell that you only can cast on cooldown on an 8-second cooldown. So I don't know. Eventually, I have a differing opinion.
Nope, soulless all the way.
Okay. I guess that's pretty clear. I guess we could actually pop in and discuss a bit about the Mason Gem as well before we move on to Shadow. I get a bit more into that. How good is it actually for healers?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
I thought I don't understood the question.
I missed that.
How good the legendary meta gem is for healers?
The legendary meta gem is the primary reason why you're seeing so many priests drop spirit. That alone is the reason why you're seeing that. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, the hard part with disc is because of the way RPPM works and the fact that the RPPM leverages haste a bit, and haste is such an irrelevant stat to us for the most part. We actually try to avoid it. So it's a little bit tricky, but at the end of the day, the MP5 that it provides is amazing, particularly if it just syncs up well with some of your abilities.
Now, what's the spell selection that you would tend to use during legendary metagem procs? Is it just normal spell selection, or do you go out of your way?
There's one school of thought where it's spam Power Word Shield during the uptime of the ability, because unlike other clear casting procs, it's not consumed, it's actually active for the entire buff duration, so anything cast in that window is free. So some people are like, oh my god, spam Power Word Shield. Well, Power Word Shield is really only good if it's the best spell to use at that point in time. So, as I said earlier, if I get 4 Power Word Shields off in that window, and none of those 4 people take a lick of damage, who cares? So, I'm really of the mindset the only thing I should be avoiding casting when Lucidity is up is Power Word Solace, because that is a 0 mana cost spell. So I basically change very little and just avoid my Solace button.
Okay. But how low do you actually think you can drop Spirit? Like, you said you're running about 10k. Do you think you could drop any lower? Like, I've seen, like, Mistweavers, someone like 5k.
Well, there's a couple of different people out there running 5, and they're just getting funneled innervates, and they're kind of doing. There's one paladin leveraging it with pure crit, no spirit at all, and then using the glyph of the holy word glyph that gives them the mana regen and changes it. Not holy word, holy shock, whatever that one is. Someone was doing that, but I probably my disc priest on counterpart, she's actually down to 9,000. And you really need to keep in mind, like, okay, if I drop another 1,000, what meaningful regen is that going to be providing me? You know, at 10, there were fights where I wasn't potting. And it may vary fight to fight. You know, Darumu, I tend to actually do a lot of bubble spam without body and soul during the maze phase, just to give people a buffer if they take a tick or two of the eyesore debuff. But other than that, I mean, I probably could drop another 1,000, but right now I'm sticking at 10, just to kind of see where that lands me. I'm also running only normal Horadin's Gasp too.
Yeah, okay. How good is that trinket actually compared to the Meta Gem? Because
comparatively, well, it's a little bit tricky, because you have some of the RNG aspect of both of
yeah,
them at work, and it stacks. I mean, Horadin's Gasp stacks. So it can have multiple stacks of it active at once, providing a longer duration of a higher MP5 regen. It's amazing. It is hands down one of the best regen trinkets we've seen in a long, long time.
It seems really good compared to all the other trinkets that are available currently.
Mm.
Okay, I guess we can move a bit into Shadow again, because we only have 2 healers after all. So, talent changes. We haven't really seen much change. Even though, on the room especially, I kind of started using Cascade a bit more, because for some reason the walls tend to live longer. I don't know why. But other than that, I don't really see anything change so far. What about you guys?
No, I mean the value of DI goes up as your haste level goes up, so there can be an argument made on several encounters for that, but it's still Solace and Sanity, and depending on the fight, it's usually Halo or Cascade or Divine Star. It's pretty straightforward on that for the most part, and then if there's ads, take Twist of Fate and Power Infusion if you can take advantage of buff stacking, and that's pretty overpowered, but yeah, not much has changed as far as talents.
No, I tend to not really use Power Infusion that much. Like, sometimes I'll use it on a specific fight if I have 3 orbs pre-pull, but that's about it. Just for the burst. But I don't really see it, like, at my haste level I don't see it as beneficial. Like, of course it's good for the opening burst, but I don't see it as good as DI is. As soon as you get a little bit of movement.
I think I only use PI on Jikun and Iron Quan. Yeah, I think those are the only 2. Everything else is pretty much DI or Toph.
Yeah, I think Twist of Fate is, well, some use it in council. Like, I tend to sometimes use it, other times DI, but pretty much DI on anything but Primordius.
Really? You run DI on Horden?
Well, sometimes I do. Like, if we need extra damage on the ads, because people like to just tunnel Horridon. So if we need to burst down, like the Waste Walkers or the Frozen Warlords or such.
Yeah, I think that's like the best argument for Cascade, Twist of Fate that there is in a fight. Throwing dots up with procs on Horden while Twist of Fate is up is just, I mean, it's fantastic.
Yes, it is.
Especially if you get an unerring proc, it's so strong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, unerring with the meta gem, it's kind of good. You get the unerring proc with 3 orbs and have Berserking ready together with the legendary proc. That Divine Plague is just gonna do a ton of damage.
I mean, as far as talents, the most interesting thing, I guess, or like the only thing that's kind of really worth noting is, the potential changes in 5.4 that could happen, because they said in the recent interview that Solace and Insanity was great and they weren't going to touch it, but they might think about changing From Darkness Comes Light or Mindbender. I'd personally like to see a redesign of From Darkness Comes Light.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of From Darkness Comes Light at all. It just...
Either side.
So poopy.
Like, it could seem Mindbender, like, it could be a use if it got buffed in some fights, like, what's it called, like Council, where you just dot all the time. It could be good, but currently it's just not worth it. It just does so little damage.
Well, I think it would be better if it was able to use spell haste instead of melee haste, especially with how much we rely on haste procs now.
Like, if we could stack those, like, our fiends with meta gems and power infusion and such, it would be crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's a long enough duration on those that you can get that for most of the duration of your Mindbender or Shadow Fiend.
Yes. But we are getting further into the show, actually. We should start looking at some questions before we run out of time. So we have a few questions that were sent in or posted on the forums. The first question is, would you say it's worth using Mind Blast mid Mind Flame Sanity?
Always.
Yes.
Absolutely, no question whatsoever. And in that same vein, the first Shadow Word Death. Anything that grants you an orb, you need to use it as soon as possible.
Indeed.
You know, it's one of the biggest questions or, advice that we give out on how to priest is when people are, saying, I'm thinking my DPS is low in this encounter. What do you see in my logs? It's, you need to mind blast more. You're not getting enough shadow orbs. You're not mind blasting on cooldown, because the more shadow orbs you get, the more devouring plagues you get. And then the more mind flay insanities you get.
And the more damage you do, because those two abilities are top damage contributions on any
They
fight,
also
pretty much.
scale the best, so the more gear you get,
Yeah.
it's so strong.
Indeed. So, the short answer, always use Mind Blast, Shadow of Death if you can get an orb from it, yes. No
and
matter.
if you haven't already, there's nice weak auras for the ICD of Shadow Word Death, so that you can use it every, 7 or 8 seconds?
6 seconds.
6 seconds.
Yeah. So that you're always getting an orb whenever you're using it. It's definitely a thing that if you haven't already been doing and practicing, it's something that you should definitely get on.
Yeah, I believe there's a post on the UI about if anyone had one, and I linked one from someone that made earlier. It's pretty much one of my favorite weak auras. It's so good. It's
You should
like
all
perfect.
thank Dry for making it.
I didn't make it. Someone on
Oh.
Priest made it, and it didn't really get any fame until I started posting it a lot.
Okay.
But
Well, you can
it's
really
really
take credit
good.
for it.
Yeah.
I mean, well, no.
Yeah, I made it. I made it.
Sure. Okay, next question. I would like to hear everyone's opinion on the Brawler skill. How do you like it as a Shadow Priest when it was first implemented? Too easy, too hard? What do you think of the upcoming bosses? For me personally, I don't even have an invite, so I can't really comment on Brawler skill at all.
Cheapskate.
I
don't
would
know.
say
Like, I
there's-
did.
Wait, not even like the normal invite, like the old one,
No, 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 I'm not in at all. Like, I have never done it.
like
in any
rank
character.
1.
No.
Oh, cupcake.
I would say that when it first came out, there's always going to be encounters that are more favorable toward certain classes or specs versus others, and the natural shortcoming of Shadow and Disc or Holy, if you decide to go in there with it, is anything that needs constant interrupts is just going to be a problem, because we have so many or so limited options in having something. It's the same problem we've seen when we have to go and fight the Pandaren elites throughout the world, where they go and try to heal. If you screw up fear or don't get your silence off in time, you're in for a bad time. It's going to make things very difficult.
And then, of course, they're all immune to the stun, the horror from Psychic Horror.
Right. Well, because I maintain both my holy and discipline specs and don't respect shadow all that often. I'd love to. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have a shadow spec at my disposal, but I'm doing Brawler's Guild, trying to see how far I can get as disc. Right now, I'm only in rank 4, which is not that big of a deal, and the gear that you have from Throne of Thunder is pretty face roll. But anything that has an interrupt, like you can't even use like Holy Word Chastise on them because they're immune to the stun. So it's like, meh. But talking with a couple people in my guild who are pretty excited about Brawler's Guild that have done it as well. We have a number of people already, with the rank 10s and all that fun stuff. But
Oh yeah, we got like 3 or 4 of those. They were right on that first day.
yeah, it seems like about rank 6 or 7 when you hit summon range timers that are going to require about 100k DPS for it to work out during the burn. You simply can't do that as disc. So you're going to be
Yeah,
stuck.
I mean, I got through, I think, rank 7 in tier 14. I mean, we were not cleared on all the heroics, but I had some decent gear, and it wasn't that hard at the time. I know the last 3
Right.
bosses were definitely the roadblock for that, but I don't know. Like the healing required as Shadow was a little tough. You had to take Divine Star on a few of them, and pop VE at a good time. And if you had a Hellstone, that was great. But definitely Shadow did pretty well in it.
Okay. So I guess that concludes this question. Okay, next question is kind of long. So it's what? It's a three-part question. The first one is about shadow orbs. Is it correct to interrupt Shadow Word Insanity for non-instant shadow orb generating, aka non-DI Mind Blast? If so, why is it correct? As we spoke about just a minute ago, yes, you should use any cast, no matter what. If it's instant, non-instant, get as many orbs as possible. Anyone else want to add anything?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Nope, pretty straightforward.
Yes. The second part is our opening rotation, very specifically. If this a go-to opening rotation, especially with 3 orbs, and when the best time is to activate Shadow Fiend. So what I have been doing with 3 orbs is, even though I'm 3 orbs, I usually start with a Mind Blast because I won't get another Mind Blast off until like 8 seconds has passed, pretty much, because of Insanity and such. You pretty much open with Mind Blast, then you pop your dots up with Berserking, of course. Then I Shadow Fiend, and then DP and Insanity, pretty much with full duration.
For
That's
me,
basically what I do.
it largely depends on if the boss is going to be within range or not. Like if the boss has to move, like on an Iron Quan pull, for example. What I use when specifically with like Halo or Divine Star, I have a tendency with 3 orbs to get Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain up first, then get 3 orb DP out, then the Mind Blast to get the first orb, and go into channeling Mind Flay Insanity. And then once Mind Flay Insanity channeling's over, when DP falls off, get Shadow Fiend out and use my level 90 talent. So that way I have a chance at getting DI procs the whole time that Shadow Word Insanity's out. I don't waste an orb from Mind Blast, and all my dots are rolling. Everything's ready to go.
Like the main reason why I actually use the Mind Blast first, like if I would save it to actually generate orbs, I would just start Mind Spike to proc the trinkets. That is the main concern for me, at least, to
That's
get the
a lot,
first
yeah.
set of dots up with full procs, like the Meta Gem, Naring and such.
Same. I mean,
iPod.
usually I'll go Potion of Jade Serpent and Fade, then throw out Halo, usually if the boss is in range, and then open up with a Mind Flay, actually, just to get Breath of the Hydra to proc, and then everything else should proc as well, and then get both dots up, do Devouring Plague times 3, and then Mind Blast.
I kind of do what Val does. I Mind Blast, then I Pot, then I VT Shower Pain that usually has all trinkets up, LMG, Zerker, because I Shadow Fiend before, or right after my dots. So, but yeah, when you have all those haste procs up, and especially if you have Lost, Insanity has like a 1.3 cast speed or something like that. You get like 6 or 7, depending on how much haste you have. It's an insane amount of burst. It's pretty. Depending on how many unerring procs you get, it's easily a million burst DPS.
The unerring in open is kinda important, but sometimes you just get dumbed on by RNG of the RPPM. So the last part of the question is off healing. Every guest on your show negated that they would ever heal as a shadow in a progression situation. I'm gonna stop there because I don't think people said that they would never do it. They said that they haven't done it so far, if I'm correct.
I think when we were asked
I
the question, it was more so, would you off-spec it? Not would you like heal if needed during the attempt you were shadow, which is a completely different question.
Yeah.
Because if you're gonna go for progression, depending on where you're at, like if you're rushing for world first kill and you could easily heal out and pop something in and save someone and you don't, that could easily just be the difference between first and second place.
That would be
exactly.
a
I mean,
great time to
I
have Bond in and ask him what he does.
I don't even think Bond has any of his healing spells bound.
I got into the habit of just watching like health bars. I have my unit frames, prominently located on my screen, and click bound, and I throw out palms somewhat regularly because I always run with Glyph of Dark Binding.
Yeah.
Anytime there's downtime, like tornadoes on Iron Quan, etc. I think it is important. We do have access to those healing spells while we're Shadow, and it helps the raid. There
Yeah.
are a few of these bosses where there's immediate danger of someone dying, that are healing heavy encounters, and then, the enrage timer might not necessarily be your roadblock. And yes, Divine Star is absolutely amazing as Shadow. I mean, it's still broken and it's still awesome.
Until someday they nerf it. Or fix it, rather. But yeah.
Let's
No.
just not talk about it.
I don't think they can, just from a coding perspective. Like, they'd have to have two different counts, both on the offensive and on the defensive. Like, the Holy One is throttled at 6 on the offensive as well.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm thinking it's, okay, this is the Healy version, so therefore it throttles at 6, both on the damage portion and the healing portion. The Shadow One's, okay, this is the damage version, we throttle at 20, both on the offensive and the defensive.
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be complicated to code.
Yeah, I
what
mean, I can still get
half.
million plus heals off of no raid buffs. When I'm hitting all 25 people, it's pretty amazing.
It is crazy. Like, the output that Divine Star does in 25, man. So, let's continue on his question. While this is the ideal situation, there are surely enough shadows, 10-man raiding especially, who try to support their raid healers with shields and prayer menus. Do you guys think that the shadows can fit that role of a raid support without losing too much damage? Saving Shadow Fiend from Pagan Breeze. I think what I usually tend to do is run with the Dark Binding Glyph. And like, unless Shen and such, when moving from like one section to another, if I have like a powerful Shadow Pain up, I'm not gonna like spam Shadow Pain just to get that extra damage, because it's just gonna negate itself in the end. I'm gonna throw like shields, prayer of minions out just to like get that extra healing out.
Oh yeah, Prayer of Mending is a smart heal. It's easily an amazing GCD spent when you otherwise would not be doing very much damage. Like, I'm still kind of surprised almost that it's something that I'm very, very happy about.
Yes. Okay, guys, we have reached our 1 hour duration for today. So we will do our best next time to get to the last questions from this time. But we will be ending it now. So for this time, you have been listening to episode 2 of the Powered Podcast. I'm Val. Thank you so much for listening in, and thank you for your support.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, stop recording. So, yeah.
Oh, damn it, I forgot to talk about the Battle Res bullshit.
I
spent like next 45 minutes on a fucking instance fiddling with it and working it out. It's like, what the hell is this bogusness? Actually, for a second, I thought I was actually allowing your passive regen to exist. But the unit frames are responding correctly, which I find so weird.
So weird.
I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, it makes sense. Because healers were always given such a heavy-handed death penalty.
Especially if it's
everyone
early
else.
on.
Right.
Like,
But
that's just killer.
now there's like no death penalty outside of the lost time and one of your battle reses.
Well, you're
What would
losing
we
all
do?
your other buffs. Like,
Well, I mean, what's the other,
Yeah, but
kind of option? Like restore you at 20% less mana than you died with, without
I
rejoin.
guess, but you're right. It just seems like it's too much work to like do -20, or if below X percent drop to this percent. I don't even know. You don't really lose the buff. The only buff you really lose is your food buff. 300 ends. You get everything else taken care of by
yeah,
either a
well,
static or a healer.
I used to have a
Well,
panda. Or did you change
275
again?
if you're lazy.
No, I'm not a panda anymore. I'm back to deny.
Okay, so it is on 300.
This week.
And for me, I'm lazy because like I burn through a lot of 300 foot on progression, so I only do 275 and farm because it's so expensive.
But you gain an extra potion because you died.
Yes, that.
Well, that depends
is-
if
If
you
you've
die
used it,
before
if you've
using
used
the
it.
second potion.
Well, I always double pot, so usually, we blow heroism later in the fight for a lot of fights. So
Pet peeve is healers who don't double pot. I find it. I know very few do it, but it drives me up a wall.
well, I
Like,
mean,
it's stupid double standard. Why not? It's not meaningless healing damage, and why not? Like, who wouldn't want several thousand int, like gratis off the pole? And the maths are a pittance.
well, I would guess like if you plant Enigma seeds and you end up getting water spirits, you could kind of pre-pot with the water spirit, so you end up capped at mana for the first 10
Boost your
seconds
power
or so.
potions. If you really want to do that, just encase yourself in amber before the pole, and break the amber.
I guess you could do that. And
I don't know. Sorry. It's this bone of contention, because when we were doing Heroic Animus for the first time 2 weeks ago, it got to the point where, like, why aren't all the healers pre-potting? I'm like, I am. Mostly because I'm doing Atonement for the first, 2 minutes and nothing
Yeah.
else. Still. Come on, people.
Yeah, if you're doing atonement, there's definitely an argument to be made, for sure.
But then, like, okay, if someone fucks up the poll and you get locked out of your actual potion because someone pulled at 1, or someone's, Chaos Bolt hit at 1, not 0.
Yeah, I started.
At least I
using
blame
my
the
pot
blocks.
at 2. Because the times that you do get locked out, of course that's going to be your progression kill. That's how it always works.
yeah, sometimes I always putted like 1 or 2 seconds left on the counter because some moonkin is always gonna like pre-pull. Like it's certain, like 99% of the time. Like there's always that moonkin who has to get the cast off fast.
They get off.
We had a-
They do Star Surge right first. Not Star. What's the? Is that their instant one that they go cast in both? Not
Yeah,
instant.
yeah, that's stuff.
Shooting Stars. Whatever Shooting Stars parks. That's Star Surge, right?
Yes.
I don't know. Oh, from darkness comes light.
So
God.
when are we thinking we're going to do episode 3?
If people are available at the same time next week, like Sunday
Wait.
and Monday at 6.
What time is it in Vegas? It's 6 o'clock. I don't even know. I'll be in Vegas
three-
next week.
It'll
Oh,
be
no.
3 o'clock.
Yes.
Wait, 3 o'clock in Vegas. I have my.
Yeah, it's West.
I have a
Pacific.
conference and I have to stay at the Mandarin. Aw.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you.
I know. And the best part is I already have a Sky Suite.
You, Vegas. You.
Yeah, I'm good Sunday at 6 Eastern, for sure.
And I'm hopeful to have internet set up next Sunday
Yeah.
in the new place. So, but I won't know that until we get there. Wait on the guy.
That's the second, right? Yeah, hold on. Let me pull up my
Yeah.
itinerary.
Wait, who's your provider out there?
It's gonna be Comcast.
That's unfortunate.
I'll be
Yeah.
out. I won't be available. I don't land until 6:30 Las Vegas time. So
Well,
looks
we
like
can just
Ashley is going
discuss
to be
it.
dealing it. We
Well-
can just talk about Holy on the higher level,
Now we can just see when we get close and like what they fix.
and then yeah. So but both Sunday and Monday are bad because I have a client dinner Monday
Yeah.
night, and then Sunday I'll be
Well,
landing Leeds.
maybe do it on Saturday, and I'll sit out because I'll be driving.
Yeah,
Oh,
we'll see.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
I'm like 90% sure that Derevka is really a high-class escort. That's why he always travels and stays
First
in these extravagant hotels.
Actually, I don't ask for money for every blowjob I give. I ask for a race change.
Oh, yeah, I guess you could do that.
Cost-effective.
Makes sense. You get a lot of race changes.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with it: is I really prefer the Draenei casting animation on like so many levels, and then like the Raider in me is like, you dumbass. Stop being such a baddie and get some sort of stat that's at least relevant. I was human for a while to get rep, to get the gear bonuses that I needed, and then rep it into being completely stupid.
I mean, you could
this
spare it as
tier
well.
anyway.
Yeah, it
Oh,
took
yeah,
4 years for me to finally succumb and race change into human, but I miss being Night Elf all the time. It's so
We're still
hard
male
to
Night
justify.
Elf.
It's so hard to
Just
justify
elf.
staying a race when it's 0 PP. You know, it's outlined just so stark that it's 0.
I get a free heal over time and a bunch of hit that I don't need. Like I seriously need to convince somebody in Irvine to find out if I have the most number of race changes on my account, and I would be shocked if it's not true.
There's
no,
probably
sure.
some crazy guy out there who does.
Yeah,
You
like,
I'm the
I-
crazy guy. I'm the
No,
crazy.
I don't think you're crazy enough.
No.
Like the last. Let me see if I can find. I'll put it in the chat real quick. This is from over a year ago. Let's see if I put up an image of my account management screen with the transaction history, and it didn't go far back enough. Oh, here it is. It's 402 days ago. I don't know if it'll let me do it because I'm. There we go. I put it in the Twitch chat. This is only one page. There was 3.
This is just disgusting.
That is just wow.
It's a lot of
You know,
blowjobs.
from this, you've single-handedly allowed them to add another server.
No, I'm telling you, I want an in-game trinket named after me called like Derevka's Vanity, and it gives you a random race every like hour.
Guess that
Yeah,
could be cool.
is Author the only one that's had an in-game item from Priest?
think so.
Wasn't Jets? Wasn't she one? Jets' bell and all that. That was a female priest girl, right?
Oh, was it
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Jezebel?
Well, and there were a few items because it was Jesse's bell, just P's,
Yeah.
Spark,
Hold on. What's
Tiara.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm pretty
I
certain.
don't know. I
it's-
thought it was.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
thought it was
actually
kind of
after.
heresy that Author's trinket was a healing trinket. I was not happy about that.
Hey, you know what? Too bad.
Too bad. Well, guys, I have to run, so I'll have to close the call. And I will be
Alright.
turning off the stream. So, yes.
See you guys.